Hey, hey. Really the only thing that gon' be normal is distribution. Normal folks gon' infuse some. Optimize your lineups and you feed the rest, you mute them. Turning it up, these numbers are loud. Peeping this game from a nimbus is wild. Making it rain while I embrace all this risk, I'm insane. Talking about that best bell, I'm the best rest till into the next world. Guess I got next still. BestBell, I'm the best rest till into the next world. Guess I got next still.
All right, it's Bradley, it's Jake. We're back at it. Look at us on the BestBell Fantasy Football podcast and live stream. I'm hosting tonight. Jake is guesting with me. This is not the first time, Jake, you've been on the BestBell. But for those who are just joining and new, Jake joined this past summer, but also was part of Billy and Bradley's production team many eons ago when we were the Fantasy Football Fanalists. So, Jake, it's great having you back on. How have you been doing lately?
I've been good, man. Staying busy. I'm in way too many leagues, so that's definitely taken up a lot of my time, as you know. But other than that, just been grinding away. Can't complain. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. Jake and I are here to answer your fantasy football questions. We know you'll have them. It is Bipocalypse. I just got done after a 20-minute call. Shout out to Jose. We'll give a Did It promo here in a second. Shout out to you. But we just spent 20 minutes talking about the bye weeks and CD Lamb being on bye and Jamar Chase being on bye. And I have a whole Scott Fishbowl team. I don't know if you're able to see that tweet there, Jake. My Scott Fishbowl bench, IR and whatnot, and bye weeks are better than some starting lineups. So
yeah, I was looking at that this morning and I saw just how brutal you have it this week too. Justin Jefferson, everybody on the Cowboys, everybody on the Bengals, the Titans on bye as well. So there are no shortage of teams hurting for players to start this week.
Yeah, for sure. And for those who are new to BestBell Fantasy, you can go to bestbellfantasy.com, go to rankings. There's a little tab in the middle. Just click rankings and you'll see weekly rankings and you click there. And my Fantasy Pros rankings are updated, minus the Deebo Samuel and the last things that have come in the last few hours, but they were updated earlier today. So they're accurate as of this afternoon. So you can check out those. They're for half PPR. I've got IDP rankings. I've got, the flex rankings. You can check that out as well. So if I don't get to all your questions, you can go to bestbellfantasy.com and I'll be doing one more update probably tomorrow morning before kickoff. So check it out. You can check out my rankings there. But Jake, you and I are going to answer some of the questions that are already coming in. We've seen some awesome questions coming in. If you guys want to check out, bestbellfantasy.com, obviously, we can do it there, but we're here to answer your questions. Jake, we're going to kick it off. Shout out to Jose. First of all, let's go to get us through by Mageddon. We are ready to roll. What's up, GV? Shout out to you. What's up? We got people in the chat who are psyched. We're deciding. This was a decision, Jake, for us to not be watching the Michigan State game. This was a decision. This was intentional so that I live in the state of Michigan. This is like there's civil war happening outside. I can hear the fireworks, the bombs going off. Like it is wild times out here in Michigan.
I'm sure it's hectic out there, and I'm a diehard Penn State fan. My dad played football there back in the day, so I'm having a rough Saturday. It was not a great game. Penn State's offense looked like they belonged in Division II or Division III and not in the Big Ten. So I was not too happy with how that game went. But I'll tell you what, Abdul Carter is going to be an absolute beast at the next level when he gets there next year or in 2 years. He's a very, very good football player.
Yeah, the Ohio State, it stayed close for most of the game. And then, in the fourth quarter, Ohio State kind of pulled away a little bit. I was in and out. I was at one of my friends' son's birthday while that game was happening. So, they did have it on the screen, but, we were also outside.
You can't really pay attention.
No, but, you pop in, you pop out, you have a couple of hard ciders. make sure that you can still drive home. But nevertheless, we are here. We see some questions in the chat. We're already going to jump into one of them. Armando Zepeda Jr., shout out to you from YouTube. Keontae Ingram, Latavius Murray, Justice Hill, Ezekiel Elliott, or Craig Reynolds. Injuries have got Armando left gurring. Literally, we can hear the gurr. So what are you thinking here, Jake? While I'm pulling up my rankings, how do you see this running back shaking out, these sets of running backs?
Yeah, if you told me I would have to decide between Keontae Ingram and Latavius Murray in week 7 of the NFL season before the year started, I probably would have laughed and said, okay, you're high. But here we are. And personally, I probably lean Latavius Murray. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be back for the Lions, which is going to limit Craig Reynolds a little bit for me personally. And then also with Zeke, obviously have Ramondre there, so it's not going to be much more than a timeshare. But you are seeing Latavius Murray start to take over a little bit more of that Bills backfield. You're seeing James Cook play a little bit less, coming in more on passing downs compared to Latavius Murray, who actually got to start last week and got the first couple carries. So for me personally, I lean Latavius Murray.
I pulled up my rankings, and my intuition was Latavius Murray as well. But then I pulled up my rankings, and it was Latavius Murray at 32, Justice Hill at 34, Keontae Ingram at 35, Ezekiel Elliott 36, and Craig Reynolds at 38. So, yes, it was Latavius Murray after all. Latavius Murray, though, you mentioned, he's Damian Harris is out long term. Ty Johnson was elevated to the 53-man roster after much drama surrounding Leonard Fournette, because evidently the LA Rams wanted Ty Johnson, but the Buffalo Bills promoted him to make sure that he did not leave. And that is what precipitated the Myles Gaskin signing. That's what precipitated Darrell Henderson. And I'm sure we'll get some more of those Zach Evans, Darrell Henderson, gross Rams backfield questions in a second. But Armando, that's how we'd lean it, is the goal line work for Latavius Murray is there. Zeke gets the Bills. Keontae Ingram is not a good prospect profile. Craig Reynolds, he's probably going to end up with 20 touches just because
absolutely. Because Dan Campbell hates backs that can get to the outside and speed backs. So he's going to try to pound the ball up the middle and just give Reynolds 30 touches for the hell of it.
We need Gibbs to bite some kneecaps. That's what we need. We need literally Jahmyr Gibbs to bite a kneecap, and then he'll be in the good graces of Dan Campbell.
Something like that. I mean, between him and Swift, they had to do something to piss Dan Campbell off in order to not get as much playing time as guys like Reynolds and David Montgomery. But, that's why I guess they're making the decisions and not me, and I'm just playing fake football.
There we go. GV asks a similar question. Zeke, Latavius, Elijah Mitchell, Craig Reynolds. And this ties into a few other questions in the chat as well. Whether we think Christian McCaffrey plays. I think he's leaning toward playing. Initially, I was more 50-50 or like you should pick up Jordan. I think you should pick up Jordan Mason regardless. But especially with Elijah Mitchell having dealt with injuries this season, Jordan Mason playing well, I think Mason is the back you want to have out of San Francisco if CMC doesn't go. But I'm imagining that CMC goes, and that's why I'll continue to have Latavius Murray here. Does Elijah Mitchell thrown into this change anything for you?
Not at all. I agree with you 100%. I think, Jordan Mason is going to be the back to have if Christian McCaffrey doesn't play. However, like you said, I do think he is leaning towards playing. He got in a limited practice today with the game on Monday. That gives him a little bit of an extra time to go out and get a little bit healthier. But especially with Debo out, I think they might try to get Christian McCaffrey a little bit more involved and try to rush him back a little bit.
All right, we'll shift to the tight end position, Jake. Emily Collier, a faithful follower on the Best Bell. Thank you for coming back and asking your tight end questions. Who is the better tight end to have this week, Higbee or Musgrave? And I need to remove myself from this question, Jake, for very obvious reasons. I don't know if the people can see all of the green and yellow in the background, but it's almost impossible. I have a Green Bay tight end. in my background, like, you know what answer I'm going to give, but Jake, is that going to shift based on what the people should actually do for fantasy?
Well, based off my rooting interest, I'm also a diehard Packer fan, so I don't know if we're the right two people to ask this question. But I also agree with you. I think Musgrave's a better play here this week, going up against the Denver defense, who is not very good this year, honestly, which is very surprising given how they played last year. But they are ranked 32nd against tight ends, so they are give up quite a few points to them. And I just think it's a matchup prime for Jordan Love to hit Musgrave maybe for 1 or 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and Musgrave was the first of 2 tight ends selected by the Green Bay Packers this year. 2 of his last 3 games, he's had at least 7 targets. So this is a player that, coming out of the bye week, like, we could see him continue to elevate his gameplay. Really, what's been holding back Luke Musgrave from being a massive fantasy contributor are the touchdowns. He has 0 touchdowns on the season and still has 3 top 8 tight end 18 performances in 5 games. So 60% of the time, he's been at least a mid-pack tight end 2 with 2 top 11 finishes, with all of that without touchdowns. So I would go with Luke Musgrave. Well, again, I think during the bye week, like, if I'm the coaches of the Green Bay Packers, which this is always a fallacy, right? A fallacy of logical coaching, that they're going to do what the right thing is with their personnel. But LaFleur did offer some reflection. He was asked in a press conference this past coming out of the bye week, what'd you guys do? And he's like, well, we didn't have our people in the right position. We didn't have, the right throws and the right routes for the right personnel. And the coach was, taking it very personally. And I think that that's going to at least facilitate this thought of, where is Musgrave on the field? What is his role? How is Sam Laporta, this rookie tight end, also being used? Like, it's not impossible for these rookie tight ends to be fantasy relevant. And so I think Musgrave is in for a big game. I think Christian Watson is in for a big game. So, especially for players who have gotten pretty involved, this is one of the higher over-unders of the week. A possibility for a shootout is much better. So give me the Luke Musgrave. Higbee I have all the way down at tight end 17 against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, if you also look at the games that the Packers have played too, Jordan Love's just missed Musgrave 3 or 4 times. That would have been huge plays for touchdowns. There was 2 in the first week against the Bears where he just overthrew Luke Musgrave. Otherwise, he would have scored walking in. So I think Musgrave's got a lot of potential. He's primed and ready to explode. It's just a matter of opportunity and, Jordan Love actually finding him.
All right. Collier also asks, think CMC plays? I think it is a yes. I think they're going to try to push him out there. It's a Monday night game. If it was a Sunday early morning slate, probably not. Deebo Samuel, for those at home, was ruled out already due to a hairline fracture that was discovered after pain continued. And so Deebo Samuel is out. This means that Brandon Ayuk very easily jumps into, I have Ayuk right now at wide receiver 7 and wide receiver 8, and that feels a little conservative. So with how Deebo not playing has affected the other pass catchers, that's one of the reasons why we want to be higher on Ayuk, higher on CMC if he plays, higher on Kittle, of course. And if you want to take a deep dart throw, like if you need a pulse in your flex lineups, Juwan Johnson, not Juwan Johnson, he's been out. Juwan Jennings is the wide receiver. I was talking with Jake earlier. I knew I would do this. Juwan Jennings is a deep cut wide receiver that if you need someone with a pulse, he might be able to get you 6 fantasy points, 8 fantasy points is probably what we're looking for Juwan Jennings. That is Bradley's Deep Cut of the Week, brought to you by Grocery Outlet Bargain Market.
Look out for Ray McLeod to get a little bit more involved too. They might take a couple deep shots to him.
All right. Nathan Walsh Haynes, shout out to you. Hi, everyone. I think CMC does not play. We will see. It is worth monitoring. I would not be confident in that call. He did practice today and is expected to travel with the team. We have not heard any different at this point. I am monitoring, of course, All of the Adam Schefter tweets, the Shefty bombs that might be going off later. But Nathan, shout out to you. I hope that he does play for our fantasy teams, but real life, it's pretty close. It's a close call. We will see, Nathan. So monitor this carefully. If I were you, if you had CMC and Jordan Mason is still on your waivers, find a way to pick up Mason just in case. That is the pivot for Monday night. Okay. Because you're not going to pivot to there's no one on really Minnesota that you're pivoting to in the running
Cam
back
Akers.
position. Yeah, gross. Yeah, exactly. We're not pivoting to anyone. Jake laughs because he knows
can't say that with a straight face.
There we go. So CMC does not play. That's what Nathan thinks. Evening Gents, full PPR. Start 2, James Cook, Brian Robinson, Drake London, or Hollywood. I've got my
that's
two
a
in
pretty
mind.
solid team if he's got those for his choices this week.
Yeah, I got the two for me are I've selected them, but I want your take here, Jake.
Yeah, I'm going to go Drake London, and I'm going to go Brian Robinson. So Drake London's been getting more and more involved in the offense every single week. He's coming off double-digit targets. And Brian Robinson is going to have a really good game script this week as well. The Commanders line up against the New York Giants, who finally had a decent week on defense last week. But before that, they couldn't stop a nosebleed. So those would be my two picks. Look for Washington to try to control the ball and keep it in Robinson's hand. I think he's primed for a big game.
Awesome. Yeah, Robinson as well is on my list, and Hollywood is the other that I think I want to be starting. It's going to be really hard for me to move off of Hollywood Brown against Seattle. Seattle gives up a lot of fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. We'll also look at what Hollywood Brown has done from a metrics perspective. I mean, 4 of his last 5 games, he has at least 10 targets and has finished as a top 20 wide receiver in 3 of those 4 games. So I'm here. I know he's wide receiver 54 last week on 11 targets. He's bound for a regression, right? And this is also a game where we know Arizona has a bad defense. So that's going to be possible shootout potential. I don't have the over-unders in front of me, but that's what I'm pulling up right now. But I imagine that this is one of those at least like 44 plus over unders. Arizona Seattle's 44.5. I was right on. Let's go.
What concussion?
what concussion? Exactly. Yeah. Stalder still got it, whatever. So nevertheless,
if teaching doesn't work out, you could always be a bookmaker.
Yeah, there we go. Sign me up, DraftKings Sportsbook. You hear it. I got it. Okay, so anyways, Brian Robinson and Hollywood are mine. Jake goes with Brian Robinson and Brian Robinson and Drake London. And I agree, Drake London has gotten more involved. It's just, I don't know, it's my bias, I guess, against the Atlanta Falcons.
Fading Arthur Smith is never a bad idea because Tyler Algier will probably get 30 carries this week.
Hey, I projected Bijan Robinson would be running back 15 this year, and he's running back 12 right now. So I'm not really taking that. I'm not taking the L, guys. I'm not taking the L. It wasn't quite running back 15, but geez.
Well, not yet. Hold on. There's still time for him to fall.
Oh, man. And, I was like scoffed at. I was laughed out of I was guesting on some podcasts. I was laughed out of the guest spot. Like some of these hot takes, I know some of them are hot takes, fine, whatever. But I run the projections. I'm sometimes a machine. I'm the machine. And the deal is sometimes the machine is more right than the humans, than the man. And, I won't take the L on Bijan at this point. To be fair, I thought before the NFL draft, Bijan Robinson, top 5 running back, was going to be a pretty nice take. And then he got with Atlanta, and I thought that's a really bad landing spot because Algier is actually #good at football.
No.
He is.
I mean, he only rushed for 1,000 yards last year. I mean, is that our metric of success?
I mean, only 1,000 yards as a rookie, one of the best PFF rush grades, a really quality yards after contact per attempt. I mean, like, what are we
That's
doing?
it. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah.
that's it. Yeah. He's a quality back. And, but what's wild is it was a bad selection by Atlanta because they had so many other needs, and
Absolutely.
while Bijan Robinson is, one of those Saquon Barkley types, I'm not saying generational, but once every like 5 years. I mean, I guess a generation for running backs is like 5 years. Sure.
That's pretty much become their lifespan for now.
But Bijan is a player that I only drafted when he fell in the second round. And he did like about 10% of the time. So I got about 7% Bijan Robinson.
No, I'm pretty much the same way. I was fading him pretty hard when he was going anywhere between 4 and 8. I just couldn't justify paying that price. I didn't think that he would be getting the touches that would justify that, especially over guys like Eckler and CMC, and CMC going in top 3, but Eckler and then taking a wide receiver in that range, I'd prefer to go there.
For sure. I was double tapping Amon-Ra and Garrett Wilson a lot of the 1-2 turn, and the Amon-Ra worked out. The Garrett Wilson, though, man, oh man, that not having Aaron Rodgers was crushing.
Yeah, I was bullish on Calvin Ridley, so I feel your pain there.
Hey, Calvin Ridley, in the games where Zay Jones has played, has been a top 6 and top 9 wide receiver those weeks. We just need Zay Jones.
Yeah, but how
back
many games has Zay Jones played?
We just need Zay Jones back in the lineup. He's played 2, and we just need Zay Jones healthy. That's what we need. Nathan comes back and says, okay, we've got DK Metcalf, Jacoby Myers, Harry McLaurin, Rashee Rice, Josh Downs. Do I sit DK since he's questionable and roll with Rice or Downs? This is a question because this is a 4:00 game. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably the most questionable we've seen DK Metcalf for some time. Pete Carroll, the ever optimistic Pete Carroll, commented on DK Metcalf that he's dealing with a pair of injuries, both ribs injuries and a hip injury that was sustained during week 6. So we will see. I mean, it is a major question. I think DK toughs this game out. But we're going with Jacoby Myers. We're going with Terry McLaurin. I would rather have Rice over Downs is how I'd have it ranked.
I completely agree. That's my exact ranking as well. I would go Jacoby, McLaurin, and Rice.
Yeah, and I think the question is, do we sit Metcalf? I can't. Let me look and see the Vegas Raiders and the Bears play at 1. McLaurin and the Washington plays at 1 as well. Yeah, the Rashee Rice is a 425.
Yeah, 125. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll get the info then, and Josh Downs is a 1:00 start as well. So it's a question of, are we going to go with Josh Downs and bank on 8 fantasy points? Because that's what Josh Downs is going to be right now. Gardner Minshew is looking for him in the slot. Downs is one of those players that, we're looking at since the beginning of the year. Only one time has he not had at least 5 targets, and he got in the end zone last week against Jacksonville. Cleveland is one of the toughest defenses. I would just roll the dice and say, see if DK is active. That's how I would play it. This is just a really tough Cleveland defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I would sit Josh Downs and just roll the dice with DK as well. I don't think that he's going to be a very good start this week. Like you said, Cleveland is one of the top defenses in the league. I don't know how much time Minshew is going to have to throw. So I think that DK is probably the better play.
All right. Armando Zapata Jr. says, sweet. Thanks, guys. Appreciate what you do. Cheers. Cheers to you, Armando. And if you guys like the content and you find this really helpful, make sure you're smashing that subscribe button. We're almost at 1,700 subs here on the channel, and has grown a ton since the last time Jake has been on. So really excited to continue to bring on guests like Jake and others. We had Jacob Famian, double Jakes over the last 2 days.
I got to treat this one with a little bit more respect.
Yeah, look at this. So we're excited. We're ready to roll. Big plans are in store for Best Bell moving forward. I'm excited. about all the things that we've been able to do over the last year and a half or so. And having Jake on is really great. So if you guys like the content and find this helpful, make sure you smash the subscribe button. Lucas Quack 1, shout out to you from Twitch. Look, Jake, you're bringing the Twitch followers with you. Look
at that. Never been on Twitch in my life, but hey, I'm happy they're all here.
Yeah, shout out to Lucas. In the long run, would you prefer DJ Moore or Devonta Smith? I think the answer is DJ Moore. Devonta Smith, as much as we like the slasher, the Slim Reaper as he's called, the reason why he crushed last year was because Dallas Goedert was out. Like, look at the splits. In 40% of the games, Devonta Smith crushed when Dallas Goedert was in. When Dallas Goedert was out, it was 100% of games. So Devonta Smith is a boomer bust. Like, he will have wide receiver 1 overall weeks, or he will have zeros in this Philadelphia offense as long as all of the pieces are together. DJ Moore, on the other hand, is the number 1 read in this offense. I know that Justin Fields short term is going to be out, but long term, I'd prefer to have DJ Moore, given that he's the number 1 target on even if it is a bad offense. I'd rather take, DJ Moore, who's a yards after the catch guy. He's one of the top 5 in the NFL there. He's still got his massive target share, and I'd rather have DJ Moore long term. The rest of season, if we're looking rest of season, over Devonta Smith.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking at A.J. Brown's game log, he's kind of separated himself from Devonta Smith and any other target that the Eagles have over there. I mean, he's gone over 100 yards in 4 straight games, and ever since they caught him complaining on the sidelines, he's been unstoppable and clearly the first read. I saw something. I think he was a first read about 65 to 70% of the time. So just seeing that, give me DJ Moore, and knowing that he is clearly the number 1 in Chicago, and Chicago finds themselves down in games a lot. So even if, the game script is going to favor DJ Moore in Chicago a lot better down the line.
Great. Shout out to you, Lucas. GV back in the chat. Josh Palmer or Jacoby Myers, half PPR. My opponent has Herbert, so I'm leaning toward Palmer. Is this a good strategy? I would still go with the better player, and that's Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers I have as a top 24 play this week, whereas Josh Palmer is wide receiver 30 for me. So I think there is enough separation between that. I know that Brian Hoyer is going to be the starting quarterback, but this is also Super Bowl champion Brian Hoyer. This is Cleveland Browns winning percentage leader Brian Hoyer. This is St. Ignatius High School alum, class of 2004. I'm class of 10. Go Cats. Brian Hoyer. So look, Jacoby Myers is going to crush still, even with Devontae Adams and all these trade rumors or not trade rumors, blah, blah, blah. I understand the offense will overall be better for Josh Palmer, but give me the sometimes the number 1 read for the Raiders over Adams. That's kind of wild to think about, but give me Myers, whereas Palmer is oftentimes the 3rd read or sometimes the 4th read.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with Jacoby Myers over Josh Palmer. The Chiefs defense is just also a lot better than the Bears defense is as well. So I think you're going to have more chances for Jacoby Myers to catch a touchdown pass. I think it's going to be easier for Oakland to move the ball, or Las Vegas to move the ball. I'm in NorCal. It will always be Oakland Raiders. But I just think that the Chiefs overall defense is much better. I think Justin Herbert won't have a lot of time facing that defense, and I think that Jacoby Myers is the better play.
All right. Lucas Quack jumped onto YouTube as well, asked the same question. Shout out to you, making sure you're getting your question answered. Appreciate you, Lucas. Which defense would you start, Browns or the Raiders? You're, of course, starting the Browns against the Colts. That's so easy, Joshua. I didn't even have to look at my rankings. That's how easy it is. You're starting the Browns against the Colts. Yes. This is awesome. Thanks, guys. We'll definitely tune in again. Appreciate you, Nathan. Shout out to you. Out of these players, which 2 do I start? B-Rob, Pickens, or Osborne? Deontay Johnson is back this week. How hard are we fading George Pickens, or does it not matter with Pat Freiermuth now on the injured reserve?
I'm not fading Pickens this week at all. I am playing Pickens and I'm playing Robinson. I am not trying to touch any part of that Minnesota Vikings offense this week if I don't have to. With Justin Jefferson out going against the 49ers, it's just not going to be a fair fight. So I am staying far away from Osborne and play Pickens and Robinson.
Yes, Brian Robinson, George Pickens, don't get cute. Let's do it. Just a random kid from YouTube. That's literally your username. So shout out to you. Hey, fella. Hope you are doing good. Need some advice. Someone is trading Godwin and Monty for Nakua. Is this good? My running backs are Eckler, Brees Hall, Mostert, Cook. Wide receivers are Chase, Myers, Devonta Smith, and Nico Collins. Looks like your wide receivers are pretty strong, and your running backs are also not too bad. So I guess I think you're getting I want the Monty side.
Getting Godwin? Yeah, I want the Monty side as well.
Even if Monty is, out for 2 weeks, we know what his role is, and that is we're on running back 1 and consistently a top 10, if not a top 5 running back, given the volume, the goal line, the effectiveness of the offensive line. There's so many reasons to be buying low on David Montgomery if you can. And Puka Nacua, I love Puka Nacua. Like, I think the only person who is more pro Puka Nacua than me is Derek Brown. Like, look at the receipts. Shout out to Debro, by the way. He and I had a really good time at the FF Expo. We had a good time. But anyways, shout out to Debro. Puka Nacua, I think there aren't many other people who have receipts back from March about Nacua.
I will say Bo McBrayer definitely has receipts on Puka Nacua as well.
Okay, shout out to Bo. Let's go Godwin and Montgomery, though.
Yep.
Okay. Wan'Dale Robinson or Darius Slayton. For this week, I have Wan'Dale at 41. Darius Slayton is at 53.
I'm playing Wan'Dale as well. I'm actually starting him in a couple leagues where I have Bymageddon going on. So I think that he is going to get the bulk of the targets from Tyrod. Tyrod showed that he liked throwing the ball last week against the Bills. I don't see much changing this week.
Yeah, 8 for 62. Can't really complain about that. Wan'Dale Robinson, 5 targets in every game that he's played, including that San Francisco game where he was just getting eased back in. He's going to catch everything. It's going to be close to the line of scrimmage. The problem with Wan'Dale is going to be touchdowns. If he can fall into the end zone, he's going to be one of the, a top high end wide receiver too, but he's going to be just a mid flex play pretty much week to week. So PPR flex, Wan'Dale Robinson. Next, Terrell T. JMO or Romeo Dubs in standard leagues.
I personally lean JMO just because of the big playability. You see him get a lot more down the field targets, and I think that with Christian Watson back, Packers are going to try to get Luke Musgrave a lot more involved in the offense. Potentially Aaron Jones coming back. There's only one football in Green Bay, and trying to feed all 4 of those mouths is going to be a little bit more difficult. I lean Jameson just for the potential of the home run play.
I am also there. I've never been a Romeo Dubs believer. Call me a doubter. Call me a doubter, a doubter. I don't know. The play on words didn't really work out too well, but that's what we're here for. We're here for bad puns. We're here for all of the ridiculousness, but strong analysis. And the reality is Romeo Dubs really struggled when Christian Watson had the full-time role again. Like, we saw that happen last year, and we saw it again in week 5 against the Vegas Raiders. Christian Watson in a full-time role. Romeo Dubs only 3 targets in that game. So that's not going to be the role for Romeo Dubs. He's going to be a complimentary piece. Now, shout out to Dubs for improving. He certainly is playing better than he did last year, because in the first half of the season, when he was healthy, Romeo Dubs was among qualified wide receivers, the worst PFF graded wide receiver among all wide receivers. You couldn't be any worse than Romeo Dubs. Now, shout out to him for improving and playing better, but JMO is the play continuing to move forward. He's probably going to get more yards and has a higher touchdown possibility. You mentioned the big plays here for JMO. Okay. Ooh. Dylan Fink. Shout out to you. This week, pick one, Stafford or Howell. And then we also have to pick some DSTs, Rams, Seahawks, or Packers.
Ooh, so I'm personally going to lean Howell, actually. I think the Washington Commanders offense is going to have to put some points up on the board. And then in terms of the defense, I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers. We know what the Denver Broncos are, and that is a not very good football team. So I don't think that I think that Cardinals are better, and I think Pittsburgh's a better offense than than the Broncos. So I would personally lean Packers and Howell.
I will lean Packers, but Stafford. That's how I'll go. Can't go against the Packers here. We got two Packers guys.
Yeah.
It's
just a loaded question at that point.
Yeah, you guys throw Packers questions, and what do you expect? Like, come on, we got the
unless it's Romeo Dobbs.
We got the cheese glasses here, guys. Come on. Half PPR must-win week. Do we go Palmer or Donta Foreman?
I'm going to go Palmer. I think that Palmer is going to be able to get a little bit more, a couple more receptions. Sorry, can you hear me still?
Yep, I got you. I can hear you.
Give me just a second. I'm having some technical difficulties.
That's okay. I will go.
Oh, there we go. Now we're back.
You got me? Okay,
yep.
Cool. I will go with Donta Foreman with the implied volume that Chicago is going to give. And the second reason is if it's Tyson Bagent or Bagent, however you pronounce it, Secret Bagent is what Jake Fabian from last night called him. Tyson Bagent is there, like he's a D2 quarterback, probably not going to be asked to air it out very much. And if that is the case, what goes up must come down. And so if it's going down for the pass attempts, it's going up for the rush attempts. We saw last year, Donta Foreman able to handle 25 to 30 carries in a game, and he's run very well or well enough. The other thing that I'd say is his breakaway run rate last year was top 10 among running backs. He was top 30 in juke rate, and he did all of that on the 8th highest stack front carry rate. So they were anticipating the run anyways, and he was able to put up respectable efficiency metrics. So I am here for Donta Foreman. Maybe this is just my complete bias against Josh Palmer, who is also hashtag not good at football, but is getting volume. So I just prefer Donta Foreman, but I do see the appeal of Josh Palmer getting the LA Chargers. He's always in line for a touchdown.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think that Darrington Evans, shout out Billy, who absolutely loves Darrington Evans. I think he's going to get a lot of work. I think they're going to check it down to him a lot, with Deontay Foreman playing a lot more on the first and second down, and just don't think he's going to be very efficient against that Raiders front seven.
All right. Thoughts on Kittle? No Debo? Yeah, you're starting Kittle.
Fire him up.
Yeah, fire him up as a top 5, easy top 5 tight end this week. Seahawks or Buccaneers defense this week. Remember the Seahawks, they face off against Arizona, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers face off against Atlanta. Give me the Seahawks.
Yeah, I agree. Give me the matchup versus Josh Dobbs.
Full PPR, Kareem Hunt versus Indy or Latavius Murray. We're going Latavius Murray here. Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
100%
okay. Agree.
Easy. Easy. Making sure that we're going with Latavius. Yeah. Start Jacoby Myers or Hollywood Brown. I would go Hollywood. Are you?
I agree with that. Yeah, I would go Hollywood this week.
Yep. We'd go Hollywood. Okay. We've got questions about he needs a running back and a flex. Played Ridley, so he's down by 28. Come on, Zay Jones was ruled out. Not to play Calvin Ridley if Zay Jones is out. That is the rule, Daniel Capskeeden. Shout out to you for trying to come back from Calvin Ridley. We got Moss, Foreman, Ford, Addison, Downs, Deontay Johnson, Rice, and Lockett. A fourth of the team is injured. We're going to go for running back. I think you go Foreman. I think he gets more volume than Ford.
Mm-hmm.
And then the
I agree
flex,
with that.
I think you put in Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, especially with DK being questionable. I think that's a pretty easy start to throw him in there this week. Going up against that Cardinals secondary who's looked beatable, especially at times. So I think definitely Foreman and Lockett are the plays.
Full PPR, pick one, Jacoby Myers, Jerome Ford, or Alexander Madison. We're still going Jacoby Myers here, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Gabe Davis or Zach Moss. Gabe Davis, baby.
Yes, sir.
Even in Bipocalypse, if you're flexing,
you can always count on him for a touchdown.
Yes, Gabe Davis. He's been one of the best ball value plays. He was being drafted wide receiver 30, and he's put up a best ball value rating in the top 15. So we're happy for that. Should I drop Elijah Mitchell for Latavius Murray? I think the answer is yes.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
The answer is yes. Mm-hmm. Javonte Williams or Foreman in standard?
Ooh, a rare bird in the standard league here. I'm going to go Foreman this week with McLaughlin still getting quite a bit of work, getting about 50% of the touches. I think Foreman has a better chance for volume.
I think so too. We like the possibility of 20 carries for Donta Foreman in this game. He's not going to do much through the passing game, but you can't argue with that type of rushing volume. You could imagine like a 20 for 80 and then a 50% chance of a touchdown. And I'll take that. All right. One of the last questions for the night. Should I add Devonta Smith to my lineup and start him over Hollywood?
I would. I think that game's going to be a shootout between Miami and Philadelphia this week. I think it's going to be 50, 60 points pretty easily. And I think the chances that Devonta Smith gets in the end zone are a little bit better than Hollywood's chances.
I have them back to back in my rankings. This is a 51.5 over under. You mentioned that shootout possibility, Jake. It's clearly the highest game total projected on the week. Devonta Smith, I have at 14. Hollywood, I have at 15. So it is neck and neck. It's a coin flip for me. But I think in those instances, we lean with the game total because the possible shootout.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be a fun one on Sunday night.
And one of the last questions, we got DST. I have Baltimore, but should I try the Giants or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the LA Rams? I have the Giants at 12. I have Tampa Bay at 9. I have the LA Rams all the way. I don't even where. At 13. But Baltimore at 10. So Tampa Bay, I think, was the answer there.
Yeah, I lean Tampa Bay as well. Divisional game at home. I look for Todd Bowles to scheme things up on that defense, and I look for them to maybe even get a touchdown, but I think they're definitely the play.
All right, Jake. Well, that rounds it out for the night. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. But where can the people follow you? Jake, at Jake Brandt 16 on Twitter, or also known as X. Anything else?
Whatever you want to call it. No, that's it for right now. Just Twitter or X, whatever. Jake Brandt 16 over there. I'd appreciate all the follows.
All right, sounds good. If you guys like the content, you found it helpful, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Make sure you go to bestbellfantasy.com, go to rankings, weekly rankings, and I will be doing some final updates tomorrow. So keep your eyes peeled. I do a couple rankings, updates, and shifts as we get the final inactive lists, and I do my final, wizardry. So check it out there. It auto updates from Fantasy Pros. And until next time, everyone, on behalf of Jake, I'm Bradley. Good luck in week number 7, everyone.
I embrace all this risk, I'm insane. Talking about that best bell, I'm the best till into the next world. Guess I got next still. Best bell, I'm the best till into the next world. Guess I got next still.